Do I think Hwei needs a buff? I think mid lane mages might need a buff, and I think mid lane assassins might need a buff. I don't know. There's a very AD carry centric meta in the mid lane at higher level plays right now. But to me, that's not an individual champion thing. That's a systemic thing. I think, it might be that Tristana is just broken, but for what it's worth, like maybe we just need to nerf Tristana. But like, hot take, a lot of people are not going to like this take. I think a number of burst style champions aren't very functional right now. Specifically burst mages who really want to like one-shot you, and burst assassins. And I know a lot of people are going to like that take because they're like, what the heck? Burst in the game is too high already. It's like, well, there's a big difference between Lux bursting you out and Zac bursting you out. And my take is that I think there's a number of things we've done to the game systems over the last couple of years that have made burst just a lot less functional. And like, it feels to me like there should perhaps be more of it on the characters who are supposed to be good at it, specifically like assassins and burst mages. And then on the flip side of things, it's like, well, and then Tristana's just bursting you with crit damage. And it's like, if I was to describe something with Tristana, I think over the years, a lot of the buffs that we did Tristana went into her burst potential with her spells, which is very fun. Like, that's very Tristana. But I do wonder if Tristana's spells are supposed to lose some burst power. Like, I just don't know if the E is supposed to kill you as fast. Or not fast. I mean, I just don't know if the E is supposed to one-shot you as much as it does, as an example. Will time to kill changes be coming in the next patch or after? I don't know anything about time to kill changes. I couldn't tell you. I don't think I'm the person to ask about those because my personal spicy take is that... My spicy take on time to kill stuff is that I think assassins probably should be killing you faster right now. But that might not be a correct take. That might be troll. So don't listen to me. I'm just a guy who makes PvE games and OP champs. If they're ever at a point where AD carries can kill squishies almost as fast as an assassin, there probably is an argument for either assassins to kill faster or AD carries to kill slower. To some degree, that's true. But one thing you always have to consider is there is no real way to make a squishy champion not instantly die to things. And what I mean by that, it's a little hyperbolic of a statement, is like, if your, in quotes, sustained damage champion kills squishies really fast, it's like, well, that's probably just correct, because the amount of damage you need to kill a tank is, turns out it's a lot higher than the damage you need to kill a squishy. And so a lot of times, the balancing... Sorry, what am I trying to say here? And so, in regards to, like, squishies killing people, it's like, the big difference between a squishy killing you instantly... Sorry, an AD carry killing someone instantly... and an assassin killing someone instantly is actually a matter of a second or so. And the reason for that is AD carries, ideally, a lot of their damage is locked behind their auto attacks. And every auto attack, like even if you're attacking 2 attacks per second, that is a half second between each attack, right? Whereas an assassin is going to unload all their spells on you, resulting in... Sorry, one sec. I'm zooming. Assassin is going to unload all their spells on you in the spam of, like most assassins, each spell has a quarter-second cast time or is instant, right? So the end result of them unloading all those spells on you is that they're going to do all that burst in like half a second to a second, as opposed to an AD carry is going to, in quotes, burst you over maybe 2 seconds. That's actually a big difference in League of Legends. But that said, like a late game AD carry does basically what is called sustained burst, right? Like that's what late game AD carries do, is they do sustained burst. And the thing that keeps them in line is that their burst takes 2 seconds instead of 1, or 1 second instead of a half second. And that's actually a big deal in a late game situation where if you don't kill someone instantly, they jump away and the tank shows up and murders you and all this stuff. So yeah, basically just, it's a complicated space because the balancing levers between an AD carry bursting you and a assassin bursting at you it's not really about the amount of damage they can do, it's really about how fast they can apply that damage a lot of the time. And it's a very big difference to apply a damage in half a second than it is to apply it in a second and a half. That's like a very real difference in burst power and explosiveness. Why change Varus' passive but buff his W? It feels sad not having the AS after kills. I think we changed Varus' passive to better support all his builds. My personal worry about the change is that I do wonder if it makes it feel like diluted. And so what I mean by that is Varus passive right now is, I believe it's 3 stats. Let me just take a look-see. Yeah, he gets attack speed, attack damage, and ability power. The worry I have about something like that, which again, it might be fine. I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, but more it's like when you take something and you dilute it across multiple axes, each individual axis feels worse. And so Varus's passive, when it's all attack speed, you know, that's a really big feels boost whenever you kill something, right? The cost of that, though, is that attack speed is only good for specific builds on Varus, and it actually gave him a lot of laning power that was very abusable by pro players, and so it made him a lot harder to balance for pro versus normal, and it didn't really support all his builds. And so the changes are an attempt to like make his passive less abusive in the hands of the best players, while also being, you know, more useful for every build he goes. The downside, though, is that you dilute the feeling of the power because it's spread into 3 things. Instead of just being attack speed, it's attack speed, AD, and AP, right? And so one thing you always want to think about when, you know, giving character power is if you give it in multiple axes, does that result in satisfaction down? And that's something to just be careful about. Sometimes it's great to do, sometimes it's more dangerous to do. Also, another reason that the passive was adjusted is because how fast he hit the attack speed cap. And we generally don't want to let people break the attack speed cap without like very, very good reason. One of the hard parts about Varus passive is that he has it all the time because he can get it on minions. The reason Jinx gets to break the attack speed cap is that specifically because of her minigun. Minigun gives so much attack speed that before we let her passive break the attack speed cap, the attack speed on the passive made absolutely no sense because she was already getting the attack speed cap without the passive purely because of her minigun. And if anybody plays Jinx, you probably know that her minigun is already weak compared to rockets. And so the passive giving attack speed, when we added that, we needed to add the passive breaking the attack speed cap as well to make minigun make any sense at all when she's resetting. The other thing about Jinx too is that the passive is very conditional. It's you get it on a kill, whereas again Varus is getting this on any minion kill, which is a bit different. So we tend to be like very careful about letting characters on their kits break the attack speed cap. I know you're gonna all be like, well, what about press the attack, right? Not press the attack. Lethal tempo. That let everybody break the attack speed cap, and yeah, it did. And so, but there's a question of like, if we have the attack speed cap, should everybody be breaking it? So the thing I would ask then, follow up, is that now that lethal tempo is gone, should there be an attack speed cap? Or should the attack speed cap be as low? I think a very reasonable argument would be something like, lethal tempo proved that most champions could break the attack speed cap. That's okay. Therefore, does it really need to be there, or could it be a lot higher? Like, that is a reasonable argument to make. On the flip side of things, the attack speed cap does mean that like we're going to ask AD carries to diversify their stats a bit more, because you can't just stack attack speed and nothing else. And it does mean that AD carries can be balanced less around the best players in the game. And what I mean by that is, the higher your attack speed, the harder your character is to pilot, which means your character is more and more skewed towards being on a low ping environment, which is, by the way, the best thing for pro players, right? And so attack speed cap does mean that there's a limit to how much APM you can put into a champion, which can be good for a class that historically has had to be balanced around the best players in the game. If you saw old Kog'Maw back when he could double his attack speed, he was basically only playable by pro players and scripters. Those are the only 2 people who could actually effectively pilot old Kog'Maw, because he was going to like 4.0, 5.0 attacks per second. And so the attack speed cap does get us some like limits on how good you can be at orb walking, which is maybe a good thing. So yeah. Anyways, though, I think it's a reasonable argument that like maybe attack speed cap in Modern League is too low. Maybe it's supposed to be like 3 or 4 or something. I'm not sure.